Welcome to Upper Elementary Simplified, the podcast where busy and overwhelmed teachers find thoughtful ideas to get students engaged in meaningful learning experiences. Hi, I'm Danna Rodebush, former fifth grade classroom teacher and founder of Teacher Tech Studio. I'm here to share practical tips and strategies that will help you grow as an educator. If you are a tired upper elementary teacher searching for ways to cut down your planning time while boosting student engagement, you are in the right spot. Are you ready? Let's simplify. Today, I have Helena Hains from The Present Teacher back to share her framework for helping teachers build systems for preventing burnout. You may remember my first chat with Helena back in May when she talked all about how teachers can prep over summer to make the back to school season as low stress as possible. And I know that you are going to enjoy hearing from her again today. In case you missed my first chat with Helena, I do want to go ahead and introduce her again. Helena holds a degree in elementary education and English as a second language. She is a first year and new teacher coach who empowers first teachers to mindfully thrive inside and out of the classroom through teacher wellness, classroom management, and time management. She holds nearly 10 years of experience in K 2 classrooms. As a new teacher coach, Helena believes that mental and emotional health needs to come first in order to see success in the education world and beyond. During her first year of teaching, she reached burnout and was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. With the desire to eliminate the stigma around mental health for teachers in the online space, she shared her journey with her online community and created The Present Teacher. Since then, Helena has presented at a variety of summits, conferences, and podcasts about how new teachers can overcome and prevent teacher burnout with proper time management, classroom management, and teacher wellness. Helena is on a mission to help all new teachers have a long, fulfilling career that they love and can thrive in the classroom and in life. Let's welcome Helena back to the show. Helena, welcome back to the show. I'm super excited to have you back today. Please go ahead and tell my audience a little bit about you and how you serve the education community in case they missed our last chat.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. My name's Helena. I'm the creator of The Present Teacher. I started teaching back in 2018, and during my first year, I reached teacher burnout, and then COVID happened. So then I created The Present Teacher to help new teachers online with everything from classroom management to planning, because I personally know how stressful it can be and overwhelming teaching can be. So I'm passionate about helping teachers thrive in the classroom so they can enjoy their personal life outside of teaching.
Awesome. So last time you were here on the show, you talked all about how teachers can prep over the summer in order to create a less stressful back to school season and really start the school year out in the best frame of mind possible. So today I have asked you back to talk about a framework that you have developed that can help teachers with everything from classroom management to planning to teacher wellness. So, can you first give listeners a brief introduction to your framework?
Yes, absolutely. So the Thriving Teacher Framework was something I started a couple of years ago. It's something that I teach around in my community, the Present Teacher Circle. But what it is, it's how teachers can go from starting as a first year teacher all the way to feeling experienced and having that freedom and ease in the classroom to enjoy their personal life inside, out of the classroom, like we talked about earlier. So there's 6 different stages in the Thriving Teacher Framework. The first one is a classroom manager. So this is where teachers really focus on their classroom management skills, things from rules, managing disruptive behavior, teaching procedures. And the whole goal of this first phase is helping teachers feel confident managing their classroom so that the classroom and the students can run the classroom without them doing anything. So that's the first part of the framework. The second part of the framework is the consistent communicator. So, this is where teachers really focus on communicating not only with their coworkers, admin, but also with the families as well. One thing you'll find, especially in your first couple of years of teaching, is your relationship with your families can really make or break your school year. So, in this phase, teachers really focus on how can I be proactive and consistently communicate with the different people in my life, in my workplace, but also how can I have a positive communication and a positive relationship with them. So that's the second stage. The third stage is the classroom organizer. In this phase, this is where we focus on classroom organizing. So, this is where you really focus on the paper workflow and organizing those resources in your classroom. So that way you can have a smoothly ran day and you know exactly where everything is, and you're not spending time shuffling through looking for that resource you need for that lesson. This fourth stage is your classroom data collector. So, this is where you go through and you collect data and grading. One thing I had a hard time with my first couple of years of teaching is I would push off all the grading, or I would have a big pile of grading to do up until report cards. And then once report cards were due, I would stay up super late trying to get it all done. So that's one of the stages, the fourth stage in the Thriving Teacher Framework. The fifth one is Classroom Planner. So in this stage, I show teachers and we talk about how teachers can be not only 1 week ahead in their planning and prepping, but up to a whole month ahead in their planning and prepping. That way, if they have a sub, if they're sick, if something happens, if you don't have as many preps as you usually do, how can you work that far ahead? That way, when you come in the mornings, everything's set up and it feels just light and easy and fun to be here. The last stage is the impact maker. And this is where I really encourage teachers to focus on their selves and their own wellness outside of the classroom, because when you show up as your best version of you, that's where teaching gets to be fun. That's where you get to add your own teaching style. You get to play almost in the classroom, and you have a different energy when you have that space and everything is taken care of in the classroom. So that's what the Thriving Teacher Framework is. It takes you all the way from what should I be focusing on when I first start teaching, all the way to how can you show up each day with effort, without effort, and with ease.
I love that. And again, I love how organized and laid out you have everything. That just makes my teacher heart happy. So, we all know that being a teacher in general is tough, and that being a brand new teacher is incredibly tough because brand new teachers are typically in that constant state of hustle mode. And to be honest, even teachers who aren't brand new stay in hustle mode, especially if they have changed grade levels or teams or schools. So, what should teachers and especially new teachers focus on to get out of hustle mode?
So, the first thing teachers should focus on is first off, recognizing the state they are in. It's that whole awareness. Once you realize you're there, then you can fix and do something about it. So, the first thing is recognizing what it feels like to be in that hustle or possibly burnout phase. For me, that looked like I remember my first winter break, I was sleeping the entire time. I was so exhausted. I'd come home and I would disassociate. I couldn't think or feel anything because I was just so mentally and emotionally and physically exhausted. So recognizing the different signs of what does it look like when you are in that state, but then also validating those feelings, because I think as teachers we are fixers, so it's easy for us to want to go straight to fixing, but you need to give yourself the space to validate, okay, I'm here. It's okay that I'm feeling this way. It's okay that I'm feeling overwhelmed. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm safe. These feelings are safe. So first, validating that, but then also focusing on then your systems. Everything I talked about in the Thriving Teacher Framework are different systems teachers have in the classroom to make their day run smoothly. And I learned this through mostly having a business. I was posting on social media every day. I was creating a YouTube channel. I was posting on or creating my podcast, and I was doing it on a day to day. And I quickly realized this isn't sustainable, but I love what I do. How can I start working ahead? And so I ran into this amazing thing called batching. And the whole idea of batching is you do like minded tasks or you theme your days and you do similar tasks at the same time because it minimizes task switching. So, task switching is when you do a lot of random things. It takes anywhere from about 7 to 21 minutes to refocus and give it 100% optimal mental capacity and performance on that task. So if you have 10 to 20 different unrelated things on your to-do list, what's going to happen is each thing is going to zap your energy and your prep is already very, very minimal. So you're spending that whole time just trying to get into the zone to attack your to-do list that you can't get as much done. Whereas if you simplify your to-do list and have one main thing to do every day, it feels that much lighter. So, for example, on Mondays, I just lesson plan. I don't worry about anything else. Sure, but when I first walk in, I get my inbox to zero. And when I leave, I make sure my inbox is at zero. But today, my only plan is just to get my planning done. And I will plan 1 week at a time. And then once it's consistent and I can do 1 week of planning on just Monday, the next week, maybe I do 2 weeks. And then you're 2 weeks ahead. And just figuring out how to better manage your time is not only going to help you, one, get more done, but two, it feels lighter. When you have a to do list of 20 things, just looking at it, you can kind of feel in your body, it just kind of zaps you, and you're like, ugh, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. Whereas if you have just one thing, it gets to be fun. It's light, and you get to move in or move throughout your day with that energy, and it's just better all around. So I would say focus on batching and learning these different systems that I talked about and how you can make your time do more in less time and work smarter, not harder.
I love that. And I love that you have taken batching, which is, I didn't learn about batching until I started my business as well. So I kind of, correlate that with business planning and prepping and, content creating and all of that. But I love that you bring that into planning and prepping for the classroom. I think that's really cool. And I wish that I had known about the world of batching whenever I was in the classroom. That would have been
Mhm.
super helpful. So, okay, so what exactly or how exactly would you say that a typical week looks whenever you are batching your planning and prepping?
Great question. So I talked about this a little bit earlier, but I like to pick one theme per each day. And how I figured this out were my classroom running activities. So I label them as CRAs. In the business world, this is a lot like IPAs. IPAs are income producing activities. I switched it to classroom running activities. So what these are the main things that you need to do every single month for your classroom to continue to run. So how I figured these out was I just opened up a piece of paper and or my journal and I asked myself, what are the things I need to do on a month-to-month basis that if I didn't do at all, my classroom would absolutely fall apart. Everything would be total chaos and I would just go crazy. So what I did is I brain dumped all the things that were my classroom running activities or the things I thought I needed in a month to month basis to get done. Things that weren't on my list were bulletin boards. Things that weren't on my list were like, you know, fixing that cute activity I did last week to be cuter, and just things that you don't realize aren't absolutely necessities. They're more fun things. I completely took those out and I just looked at the basics. And once I had that list, I started grouping tasks together that were similar. And what I actually found was there were four main things I need to work on a day-to-day or a month-to-month basis to keep my classroom running. Those were my classroom running activities. And those included planning, data or grading, prepping, and then also communication. So those were the main things that I need to do in my classroom to keep it running. So then what I ended up doing is I ended up picking a theme for each day. So for example, a breakdown of what my week looks like on Mondays, it's lesson planning day. I sit down at my computer, I put on my favorite playlist, and I just plan as much as I can in those 40, 30-minute prep. And like I said, I start building. Maybe the first week I just do 1 week at a time. And then once it becomes easier, I do 2 and 3. So that's what Mondays are for. On Tuesdays, I take those lesson plans and I prep. That's day 2. The second classroom running activity was prepping. I take all the lesson plans I just wrote out, I gather all the resources I need, and I start printing them off. So Tuesdays, I was notoriously known as a copy lady for Tuesdays because I'd be sitting at the copier my entire prep because I would be prepping anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks out during that one day. I'm already there. I might as well do it all at once. So then I could just file the papers, I could put them where they need to go on the same day. So that was day 2 for me. Day 3 was my grading day. So that's Wednesdays. Wednesdays, all of the assignments I collected during that week, I would then sit there and grade. Now, what I like to use in my classroom, and I learned this from one fab teacher, she's amazing. I use a milk crate for my filing system because when I first started teaching, I had a file basket, and that was awful because it would just fill. And I felt like no matter how long I sat there trying to grade all those papers, it would never end. So instead, what my students do is every time that they have an activity that's not necessarily a test, I have file folders with their names or their numbers, and they go and they file that paper. So typically, those are going to be more participation points or just like a quick look and see how they're doing. Whenever it's an assessment, I do collect those because I don't want my kids to have access to that because it's in their student resource area. But on Wednesdays, I sit there and I take all the papers out of that filing cabinet or that milk crate and I grade them all at once. So I graded all of this for student 1, student 2, student 3. That way I can then return it to families that same week. So that's what my Wednesdays look like. And then all my assessments are compiled into one pile. It makes grading faster. And then day 4 is my communication day. This is where I'm either creating newsletters. I create weekly newsletters for my families. I'm catching up on any emails. I like to keep my inbox at a 0. Anything that I didn't respond to stays unread until I do it. This looks like communicating with my team. Maybe we need to look at planning. This is the day that I do that. And then my Fridays are catch-up days because I don't know about you, but I don't know how many weeks I've had all my preps. Typically, I have to cover a class, somebody's sick, I have to go contact this parent. I have a built-in system that allows if one of those days is taken, it's not the end of the world because I have a backup day. So that's what my typical prepping and planning and batching looks like.
Oh, I love that. Your organization is very inspiring, and I love that. So, how would you say this fits back in with your thriving teacher framework?
Yeah, so if you may have noticed, all the classroom running activities I talked about earlier is essentially the framework. What I did is I listed out all of the things that stu or teachers absolutely need to do, and I compiled it into a different stage and a different theme. So essentially, what teachers are doing in that framework is learning how to batch with those different themes. So classroom management, I mean, they're going to always use that, but focusing on that first. But the planning and prepping, once you create those systems, you can then use it on a week-to-week basis and become that much faster and better at it. So that's kind of why I created the Thriving Teacher Framework. I took the classroom running activities teachers need to do, and I created a no fluff framework on how to be successful, what that looks like in the classroom.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So, I know that you have a free classroom management guide for teachers that I'm going to be linking in the show notes, but would you tell the listeners a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So the classroom management guide, I noticed that a lot of teachers were having similar problems that I was in the classroom when it came to classroom management. Things like their students aren't listening to them, they're constantly out of their seat, they're moving around a lot. And what we don't realize is there's often a lot of underlying reasons why these behaviors are happening. And when you're able to take a step back and pinpoint the reason why students are behaving the way they are, because behavior is just communication, you can then fix the problem. This is one of the reasons why when I first started teaching, I went on TikTok and social media and I used all those cute classroom management trends I saw, but they would never work for me and I couldn't figure out why. And I soon realized because they were more of a band-aid strategy on how to fix the behavior. Whereas if I just went to the origin of why the behaviors were happening in the first place, then it would minimize, it would completely eliminate the disruptive behavior that was going on. So what I did is I asked teachers and noticed, the top questions I was getting in regards to classroom management, things like, what am I supposed to do when the kids are constantly out of their seat? My kids won't stop talking. What am I supposed to do? What do procedures look like? How do I thoroughly teach them? What classroom rules I should have? And then I compiled it into one spot where I answered all the questions and I linked to additional podcasts and YouTube videos I had that went thorough into it or more into it in depth because I know as teachers, we don't have a lot of time. So it has all the top questions that I get on classroom management in one spot. So if you want to learn more about how you can get started on classroom management, feel free to go download the guide. And if you have any more questions that aren't answered in that guide, feel free to reach out and send me a DM.
That sounds super, super helpful. And like I said, I will be linking that classroom management guide in the show notes for you if you want to go check that out. So, Helena, go ahead and share with my audience where they can connect with you.
Absolutely. So you can find me at The Present Teacher on pretty much everything. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Pinterest. I also have my own YouTube channel called The Present Teacher, and I have my own podcast as well.
That is awesome. So, yes, definitely. I will link all of those places in the show notes. So, definitely go and connect with Helena at the present teacher. Helena, thank you again so much for being here today and all of the amazing tips that you have shared with us. I've really appreciated speaking with you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It was such a joy to be on again. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for listening this week. And I hope to see you back here next week, same time, same place. Until then, keep life simple and have a great week. If you've been around here for a while, then you know I like a good pun. So get ready for this one. This summer, I am publishing a bi monthly summer publication for upper elementary teachers called the Dog Days Digest. For this publication, I am fetching the most tail waggingly inspirational ideas for teachers as they pause to beat the heat in the summer. I told you it was punny. My vision for Dog Days Digest is for upper elementary teachers to be able to find inspiration for the upcoming school year while lounging by the pool, escaping the hot dog days of summer. So, I rounded up some of the best articles, podcast episodes, and videos from 25 amazing teacher authors. This curated list of content is all in one place, so all you have to do is kick back, relax, and enjoy all summer. Topics include all subject areas, plus classroom management, back to school, self-care, instructional strategies, and classroom prep. It's all free to access and you don't even have to sign up. Just head to teachertechstudio.com/dog-days-digest-24 and you can bookmark the page for easy access. Or if you do want to be notified of new issues that are released, you can subscribe right there on the page. So grab your tablet, earbuds, and a fun summer drink and get ready to read, listen, and watch. That address again is teachertechstudio.com/dog-days-digest-24. And that link will also be in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Upper Elementary Simplified. I hope you are able to take away something useful that will help you grow as a teacher. I do have a quick favor to ask before you go. If you are enjoying the podcast, please let me know by leaving me a review. It really does make a difference because reviews impact search results, which helps me to expand my reach to other educators. Plus, I love to read my listeners' comments. Until next time, keep life simple.